Yes, you read the title right. Five Nights at Freddy's has already started saving Dead by Daylight, and it's not even been into the game yet. And you might be thinking like, oh, that's kind of a stretch, but let's be honest, even though the Resident Evil chapter, obviously massive, right? It's Resident Evil, been around for years, literally years at this point. RE itself, not necessarily in the game. RE has been a thing forever, it feels like. But Five Nights at Freddy's is in its own atmosphere, essentially, for gamers. Obviously, Resident Evil does have movies. Five Nights at Freddy's now has a movie. We are talking about a whole different giant when it comes to FNAF. The potential this game has to launch DVD into the next tier of gaming is simply because of how massive the Five Nights at Freddy's community is. And I just kind of want to show you that what they're doing now is because they're anticipating the Five Nights at Freddy's launched in Dead by Daylight to be massive. And let's be real, if it's successful with all these changes that they're making, getting the quality of life changes kind of under their belt before FNAF comes into Dead by Daylight, we could be talking about a massive new player base, not only in Dead by Daylight, obviously, but for the future to come and for future licenses, because this specific license can simply take Dead by Daylight into a whole nother level of gaming. So you probably know by now the quality of life has been prioritized over the next content coming up. They pushed the PTB back from, I believe, February 18th to now like March 11th or something like that. So essentially a full month, pretty much 3 weeks. And although like not having content does kind of suck on the content creator side, quality of life has been needed for so long now. And the reason why they're prioritizing, don't think, oh, behavior, yes, I'm so proud of you, you're making right decisions. This is simply because they know Five Nights at Freddy's is going to be so massive coming into the DVD space. They know they have one shot to not mess this up. So while we are getting a chapter coming, I believe now April, after the March PTB, now that it's been pushed back, we do have some quality of life changes coming up. From April to June is considered phase 1. Don't know exactly when they're going to start trying to implement these, but obviously it's going to be happening before the Five Nights at Freddy's, because they want to get this game perfectly in place of where they want it. I don't know how to put it exactly, but we have an anti-slugging and surrender option that kind of go into a little bit about giving up on surrender if all 4 players are down. And then if you're a killer, all remaining survivors are bots, which is obviously pretty nice. Gamma adjustment, that's probably more for console, because PC, obviously we have a lot of different options. The go next prevention, which is huge, not necessarily retaining to, because Five Nights at Freddy's is coming in, but they're doing, that's the thing I want to make clear. They're doing all of this stuff now to make the game better for when Five Nights at Freddy's is coming out. And they would have never done this if this license wasn't announced, because it was announced what, 6 months ago or something, anticipating for a full year, because it's supposed to come out in the summer of 2025 if I'm not mistaken, if I'm remembering the post correctly. And when they did that, I mean, it was like, okay, so everything's going to go into that chapter. I kind of anticipated that, but I think now we know why they pushed it back for so long, or I guess gave them room before like bringing it in 6 months later, pretty much a full year, is so quality of life can be specifically adjusted and touched and managed exactly how it's needed to be for years at this point. And just because of Five Nights at Freddy's name, because of how many people are going to come to Dead by Daylight and play FNAF characters or whatever. And then, there's obviously a lot of different options, or not options, but things they changed with this quality of life they're kind of talking about. Map offerings, not being guaranteed, but rather a 20% chance, like they kind of used to be. I think the brown map offerings is what they were. Different spawning for survivors, kind of more together instead of separated. Phenomenal change, dude. That's seriously amazing. AFK bot detection, I'm not really sure about that one. Bulk blood point spending. This is so smart. So I know this isn't a lot of people, but I've seen somebody on Twitter where they've been saving up for Five Nights at Freddy's chapter, and they're at like 20, 30, 40 million blood points. So think of how long it would take to spend all those if they don't have this bulk option. So that's not necessarily, and I'm not like, oh, this is why they're doing it or anything like that. Obviously, I don't feel like I should have to state that, but I'm going to. But like being able to just bulk spend, you're going to save 10, 15 minutes. Or if you're over the blood cap that a lot of people seem to be, that are more experienced into the game because they don't really care that much about blood points because they have all the offerings, add-ons, all that type of stuff. That is so huge, dude, because think of how much downtime you've spent over, if you played 5 years of Dead by Daylight, how much you've just spent in the lobby pressing the button. And now we have the auto blood web. We used to not have that, dude. Like, it was even worse than it is now. So it still takes a lot of time. That's obviously awesome. They have a quest system. They said that they apparently talked about last year. I don't remember the announcement, to be honest, but we'll see what that is. The perk loadouts and preview, I imagine that's like, some people have like this little 4 perk slot kind of near their character in the lobby before you get into a match. I think that's what they're talking about there. And then like in phase 2, which I think is more, that's going to be, if I'm not mistaken, that's going to be kind of after the Five Nights at Freddy's comes out. It's saying that they're going to be looking at anti-slugging, just continued improvements, anti-tunneling, anti-camping, which is smart, MMR update, shout out to Troy maybe, I don't know, if you know, you know, and then mapping key item balancing, kind of whatever gameplay wise. I'm ready to see what they do with the MMR update, because let's be real, I mean, we don't even see our grade anymore because we have player profiles and stuff. I think there should be a either ranked gameplay, game mode, whatever, or you bring the old grade system back, to be honest. Make it feel like you're doing something instead of, I don't know, I'm not gonna go too much into that. And then the second part, the quality of life, is custom game improvements, which is pretty cool. Accessibility improvements, I'm hoping that's potentially scratch mark colors, generator aura colors, but then they would kind of have to tweak how they word some of their aura revealing perks, like depending on the like Houndmaster's new perk, Scorch Oak Jagged Compass, so the aura of the generator with the most progress are revealed in yellow for 10 seconds, those type of descriptions. So maybe not aura colors for, you know, revealing generators or survivors, but I think scratch marks would be cool. I would really like if we could manually turn off any type of voice lines in the game for survivor or for killer. Potentially different audio selection from like power usage. Not saying like if I turn this down survivors can't hear it, but for me, like hearing the whistle constantly for Houndmaster, just say, is kind of annoying sometimes. If I play the unknown, I wish I could just turn off the voice lines, because to be honest, the unknown voice lines freak me out. But anyway, those are just type of accessibility improvements. I don't know if that's what they're talking about, but I hope it is. And then the big one, well, actually 2 big ones, prestige rewards, which is awesome. And again, I think that is because Five Nights at Freddy's is coming into Dead by Daylight. These things would have been pushed back for years, because we've had prestige in the game forever now at this point, and you're just like, oh, I hope you get to P100. And what do you get after spending, I don't know, 150 million blood points or whatever it would be? You get better blood webs. Like, by the time at that point, you probably have everything you need on a P100, right? So it makes sense that prestige awards hopefully will be, you know, how we have it now. 1, 2, 3, you get your perks. 4, 5, 6, you get your charms, or is it, no, 4, 5, 6, you get your, am I mistaken? No, I'm right. And then maybe after that, it's like 10, 20, or like 15, 25, 50, 75, 100, or whatever. It gets more progressive. Like every character gets its own portrait, charm with their face on it, something to be a little more customized, because let's be real, it's part of gaming now, so it just makes sense. And then reduced login steps. Bro, if I hop into Dead by Daylight, you know what would be awesome? I just go straight to main lobby. Like, I load in, I click, yeah, it goes through the anti-cheat, and then I just come here. That would be so beneficial. I'm so tired having to click through 14 screens. I hear Jake and Claudette screaming. You know, the new intro cutscene for whatever chapter, kind of understand that one. Maybe give me an option in game to turn it off rather than have to go through the Steam log, whatever, to make sure I can get it turned off and bypass it and go right past it. Pretty frustrating. I'm not like, this is the only thing I could think of when Five Nights at Freddy's was announced, was, okay, how are they gonna prepare for this? And then I saw leaks before they initially announced that they're going to be pushing back the PTB, and it was like, all right, PTB's being pushed back, don't quite know why. And then they come out the day before the PTB, I believe it was Monday because the day's Tuesday, that the PTB is being pushed back and all these quality of life changes. Obviously, so awesome, dude. There's so many things in this game that need to be optimized, from the bugs to the blood points to perk presets. I didn't even mention that earlier. Accessibility options, MMR, dude. Like, there's so many things that needed to be done in this game, and I think it literally all stems from Five Nights at Freddy's, because they know that if they get this right, if these quality of life not only hit, but then the Five Nights at Freddy's chapter hits, we are like, I don't think we can comprehend how massive it is going to be for the DBD scene. Not only the player base, not only, well, it might affect queue times, but not only that, it'll bring more money into Dead by Daylight and behavior. What does that mean? Anything. Think if our studio that makes our game makes more money, realistically, we can bring back employees, right? Like in theory, maybe that, you know, starts accumulating more stuff. Maybe we get more permanent game modes. Maybe that'll finally fund a custom server option where you can play like prop hunt and stuff, and you can make your own game modes, kind of like the browser servers in CSGO. CS2 doesn't have it anymore. That's just one of the things I constantly think about this game, of how cool it could be if you had that kind of custom server browser. Realistic, maybe not, but I think it would be really cool. Like a 4v4 FPS custom game where everybody has Deathslinger, you know, gun, like those type of things. Like if money is pouring into behavior because of Five Nights at Freddy's, content creation is gonna go berserk, right? The game player base is gonna go berserk. The money that's pouring into the dev is gonna go berserk. Everybody wins, and it all comes from quality of life changes that they've announced, and that comes from, in my opinion, the Five Nights at Freddy's announcement 6 months ago, 8 months ago, whenever it was, because I can't quite remember, so I might be off. Don't come at me. But I do think that Five Nights at Freddy's inadvertently saved Dead by Daylight, and it hasn't even been pushed into the game yet. Let me know what you think, but if you don't believe me, then I think you're wrong. Not really. I guess you could think I'm wrong, and that'll be okay. I'll forgive you. But I really do think that this pushback, this non-content drought that we're about to go into sucks now, yes, will be beneficial for the future, not only for the Five Nights at Freddy's chapter, but for long-lasting, you know, the longevity of the game itself. This is stuff we've needed. So as long as the quality of life changes hit, we are going into the golden era of Dead by Daylight, if you will. And I'm not like a FNAF fanboy. I've never played the game. I've never watched a movie. I've never watched whatever. I thought it was weird. I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't the game for me. I was an FPS kid, you know, so I never got into it. But I do realize what's at stake here for Dead by Daylight. If it blows over, whatever, like, let's say they ruin it, the player base that's already here is gonna still be here, right? But if we hit on this Five Nights at Freddy chapter, we are going into another level of gaming. I truly believe that, because not only are we bringing in just an astronomical amount of players that'll come into Dead by Daylight for the first time just because of FNAF, and even if like they do like that, they have a chance to fall in love with other killers, other game modes, other mechanics, 2v8, Chaos Shuffle, whatever, and then that keeps them in the game. But it has to hit. Five Nights at Freddy's has to hit. And if it hits, guess what? The licenses that I can think of for this game will go so hard. Maybe not as big video game wise as Five Nights at Freddy's, but licenses in general for movies, TV shows, whatever. Scooby-Doo, come into Dead by Daylight, bro. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, I know I'm kind of tangenting here, but I just can't I think everybody kind of has a grasp of what Five Nights at Freddy's will do for the entire DVD scene if it hits properly. And I think because we all know that, Behavior obviously all knows that, and they're looking at this like an absolute gold mine, that if they hit, we get launched into a different atmosphere. And I'm super pumped for it, but I do think that all of these quality of life changes, the only reason why Behavior now is going to lose money is because they know how much money they're going to make because of Five Nights at Freddy's being introduced into Dead by Daylight. That was a lot of talking. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you made it this far into the video. Let me know if you agree or disagree with me. I will see you on the next one. I'm just trying to continue this see, I messed it up. I meant to say sentence and I actually said situation. Anyway, I'm out of here. I'll see you on the next one, and deuces.